Hey, John, how are you, man?
Hey, Dave. Doing good. How's it going today?
Great, great. Welcome back to the Jump Seat. It's another Friday.
Here we
Welcome
are.
to, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, welcome to all our viewers out there. For those of you guys who are just joining us maybe for the first time or not really aware of what the Jump Seat is, hey, it's a weekly spotlight brought to you by myself, David Durstein, and my partner in crime right here, John Martins. We're two firefighters that work in the fire service industry and really brought this show together to really bring insight into new technologies, improvements, as well as you know a 200 years of progress and technology in this fire service. So we're
Right.
trying to bring the latest and greatest innovations as well as techniques and ideas to your fingertips. So
Yep.
welcome to all of those viewing, and we're glad to have you here. So, John, what you got? What you got
Yeah.
shaking? Anything new and exciting this week in the fire service?
Yeah. So unlike many weeks before, there hasn't been a lot of real major headlines. There was some pretty, we'll maybe have to link to it in a little bit. Some pretty interesting scene there we saw with the train on a bridge that caught fire. Was that in the Tempe area?
Tempe, yeah,
Yeah.
out in Arizona.
Might see if I can pull a picture in here in a minute. But yeah, I mean, as far as news goes, we've had a lot of negativity really in the last few months. So this week, outside of the norm, I guess I should say, or the typical, they're in the whole lot, which is okay with me. So
Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
yeah, but no,
Well,
this week will be good. I think that the title's catchy. Chicago Big Water, or sorry, excuse me, Chicago Quick Water. We talk
quick
Big Water
water,
all the time. We're talking Quick Water
quick
today.
water today, quick water today.
um, you
You know,
bet. So
I bet the guys in Tempe wish they had some quick water that would have made a difference on that train fire. And you referenced
yeah.
that, and wow, that was impressive. Who would have thought not only would you have the train derail, you'd have the fire, and then ultimately a bridge collapse in the process too. So crazy
Right.
scenario. Glad to hear everybody was safe on
Hmm.
that situation incident. And
Yeah. You
you know,
bet.
I
Well, I'm gonna say let's just jump to. We've got a really good topic today. I want to allow some time for it here. So talking quick water. A lot of people may not know what we're referring to there. Obviously, speed is the name of the game, but it's got to be the right water or the right place at the right time with the operational efficiency to make it last long enough to get the job done. So today I'm gonna introduce our guest here in a minute. Let me get him pulled in here. I'll read a little bit about him. We have Mr. Tim Walsh. Tim is a former district chief with the Chicago Fire Department and now serves in an administrative role with the Illinois Fire Service Institute. Um, he's got more than 39 years of progressive experience within the emergency response industry. Really, all capacities, volunteer, paid on call, and paid professional through the ranks, and just a great all-around guy. He's been a great supporter of us with IDEX Fire and Safety, with Akron Brass, which we greatly appreciate. And I couldn't think of a better person to talk quick water than Tim. So, Tim, I'll let you say hey, but wanted to say thanks for coming to the jump seat and welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here this afternoon.
Awesome. Uh,
awesome.
as far as let me get our title in there. So Chicago Quick Water. When Tim, when you and I talked first here recently, um, I guess give us and our viewers a quick definition of what defines quick water in your mind.
So, quick water, the way it relates to the Chicago Standard Engine Operations Order, is just the ability to use tank water right away as soon as you pull up on the scene before you have a positive source. And was originated in writing by Pat Kehoe Sr., who was the chief of operations at the time, back in 1993. So there's been a lot of discussion about it lately over the last 6, 7, 8, maybe even 10 years as a new technique. It's not a new technique. So I like to talk about the history a little bit about it. Richie Stack, one of our instructors and one of our regional directors, actually provides a class on it down at FDIC. Him and I are doing some back research work on it to make sure that we have all the proper players. There's only a few gentlemen left alive that were the originators of this technique. It all kind of started back in the late 50s and early 60s when they were building the below-ground expressway system in the city. The Eisenhower, the Kennedy, and the Dan Ryan. They were all completed about the same time. And before then, the fire department didn't have tanks on their engines. They would have to get a positive source before they could actually flow water. and they were going down to the expressways as they started to open and they were being built, and they needed water. And unfortunately, when they built all those expressways, there's no hydrants down there, none. So we still send a topside company to supplement water for the companies that are below grade, work in auto accidents and car fires and truck fires. But it was obvious to the fire department management at the time that they needed to start putting tanks on engines. And that was the real originator. And they were like, if we're doing this for auto fires, how will this work in a structure fire? And then they started testing it. So some guys by the name of Pat Kehoe Sr., who I mentioned, Dick Keating, Bill Ferran, Lee Rodak, Pat Durkin, John Flutis, and Ray Orozco Sr., whose Ray's dad was young Ray, the guy you guys know. He was the fire commissioner at the time, very progressive, very smart men. And they started testing the technique of using quick water as soon as they pulled up at the scene. And Dick Keating, who was a lieutenant on a busy company at the time at Engine 116, used to tell us all the time when we were studying after he made chief, why would you drive 500 perfectly good gallons away from the fire scene? Put them to work, right? You brought it for a reason. Send the tank water and get a line in there and protect the occupants so that we can make good searches.
Yeah, Tim, you mentioned something really quick there, that analogy of driving the 500 gallons away, right? And so you maybe talk a little bit about Chicago's procedures there. And I think, right, you would actually then lay down to the hydrant, right, in those cases?
Yeah, so the hydrant person, or hydrant man, as we used to call him when I came on the job, now it's a hydrant person, is very integral to this operation, because their job in our water supply system is to make sure that they get a positive source before we run out of tank water. So coordination between the company officer and the engineer to make sure that they're either holding the fire in check or the hydrant is nearby and the hydrant person was able to get a positive source, and we can go to work, drop more lines. We can fully open the bail or not shut the bail down or close the door to separate us from the fire room is key. So it takes coordination and practice. The officer has the ability to use any technique he or she wants when they arrive on the scene. They can drop a cross lay, 2 cross lays, 2 2.5s, a single 2.5, or even a deck gun. So it's kind of dependent upon the scene when they get there, what they're seeing, and how far the fire has progressed prior to their arrival.
Awesome. So obviously we got a little insight there into, what is quick water, maybe a little bit of the background. And so maybe give us some of the methodology and how it's kind of changed over the past few decades. And then even to where it is today, as you know, we've been talking, it's coming back up as a key topic, and it's not really anything new, but it's maybe to some of the younger guys, it is new and exciting. It's definitely a cool piece of puzzle. So maybe some of that background and how it's affected the industry.
So we have a research component at the Illinois Fire Service Institute to help firefighters get real research done, and they jumped on board with NIST and UL and started to do all the studies that you've seen on the NIST safety website, the UL firefighter safety website, where anybody can, and I know you guys are going to put that link up for me. You can go there and actually look at the studies that were done by real people that went to school and took math and passed, unlike most firefighters, myself included. I'm not casting stones. And what the science is saying now is that the ability to flow water immediately upon your arrival is key, not only to survival, but to actually operate inside the building and make rescues. It shows a great benefit. So the science caught up with the city of Chicago probably in the last 5 to 6 years, and UL continues to do those studies with NIST and the Illinois Fire Service Institute to kind of prove out a theorem that guys had on the street. They knew that they were making good progress, and they were able to hold some pretty substantial fires just with the 500 gallons that they had, and even the tank water from the second engine. And that becomes really important in the wintertime, because in Chicago, obviously those hydrants freeze. And it's not uncommon in a busy house to have 2 or 3 people assigned to a hydrant position for a first due alarm. And the reason is that hydrant position is hugely important. So those guys carry flares, they carry M500 propane torches. So the application of water and providing a proper water source immediately upon arrival has great benefits, as I stated, for all the firefighters inside the building and the occupants inside the building. So sometimes when the fire is out of the box, as we like to say in Chicago, you got to put it back in the box. And that's where all the joking around comes from HIPDI and all the knuckleheads that talk about you're drowning it from the yard, hitting it hard from the yard. Yeah, it's a technique. It's not used extensively or all the time in the city of Chicago, but it's a communication issue, right? So the way that our construction works, we have a lot of frame buildings, 2.5-story frames. If you allow that fire to progress on the outside of the building, now you're going to have 2, 3, 4, even 5 buildings going at one time. So it's a simultaneous operation for us. Transitional attack is not flow water on the outside of the building and then not go in. It's flow water, put it back in the box, and then hurry up and get in with another line and mop it up.
It's interesting how people, like, and as you said earlier, they overlook the hydrant position. And in this type of setting, in this methodology, it's the other way around. It's like it starts with that guy in a way, right?
Yeah.
So the long term is affected in those first few minutes by that person, that hydrant person.
My boss, Joseph Francis Finneran, he was my first lieutenant on 116, and the senior man there, Bobby Smith. It was, if everybody was off and you were the only assigned member of that company that day, and you had detailed company members in, you were not on the pipe. You were on the hydrant. That was the most important position to be on, because if the hydrant wasn't made and the hydrant wasn't effective and we didn't have a good supply line, then all the other positions would just fail. So it's everybody wants to be on the pipe, right? Everybody that's in the fire service, it's probably the most cool position to be at a fire, to be the first engine on a fire and be on the pipe or the nozzle. For our East Side brothers and sisters that are watching, East Coast guys, I don't know what they call it on the West, but that wasn't the way we operated there. My lieutenant was a Korean War veteran, very plain-spoken man, no nonsense, and it wasn't even a choice. If you were the only guy there, he put you down on the hydrant that day. There was no negotiating, and then he filled the other roles based upon the competency and the detailed firefighters that were detailed to that engine company that day.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean that's a big change, from a lot of that mentality as you referenced, because I just reflecting as you were saying that on my days and my little few years of being a firefighter, and yeah, we always fight or who can get the nozzle first, right? But
right,
and in my rural application, that probably still applies, but getting water to us is just as key, and so. Let me ask you this. I think this applies in the rural application. What are you seeing or hearing from those maybe that aren't necessarily in the city of Chicago, as an example, but are maybe more rural or remote fire departments?
Yeah, I think it's a great technique to use anywhere. Most rural departments have bigger tanks than the city of Chicago does. We only have 500-gallon onboard tanks. And I believe NFPA did a study in the last couple of years where they said most residential structure fires are usually handled between 300 and 400 gallons of tank water prior to even getting a positive source of water. So if you're pulling up with 750 gallons or 1,000 gallons of water when you first arrive on the scene, and that second due company, whether it's Auto Aid or somebody from your department, is bringing another 750 gallons, you can put out a lot of fire with that if you have good coordination between the company officer and the engineers that are pumping that before you get either rural water supply set up, a tanker operation with a portable tank, or if you have hydrants that are really spread out a little further than ours are. Ours in the city are 300 feet apart in most neighborhood locations. That's the way the water grid is set up. And because of Lake Michigan, we have a pretty good water grid there. So it was advantageous for us to operate that way.
Yeah, I know we were talking there, earlier this week, kind of prepping for the call here or for the show here today. Tim, I kind of shared one of my experiences in the quick water or now transitional attack, whatever you want to call it. And, I think you mentioned, hey, get the deck gun on it first or water from the yard, right. And so one of the things, though, I think that has become a really unique tool to help and aid in this is actually you've got that big, fully involved room of contents. Maybe where you're positioning that engine from the street, you can't make a deck gun attack. But now most people are carrying these portable monitors, these quick attack monitors that are 500 gallons per minute. And I know, that I kind of shared a story from my department that we had a major industrial facility fire. Really, we knocked 1,000 gallons of water out in the first 2 minutes with a little Mercury quick attack portable monitor. And by the time we were out of water, we carried 1,000 on our engine. By the time we're out of water, our second in engine and a tanker were pulling in. and we had knocked about 80% of the fire load down to a environment in this industrial building that had a high fire load, and really gave them the second hand to have that next truck and their lines to make the final extinguishment. And really, the first 10 minutes, we kicked a lot of butt and put a lot of fire away. You know, we were on scene for a while, overhaul, and in this case, it was in a dust collection system, and it was crazy. But you got to remember those tools that you have. It doesn't have to always be the deck gun on top of the truck. It's the other tools in the toolbox.
Yeah, I think chief officers, and I get to say this because I used to be one before I retired, I think they get a little too micromanaging for their company officers or their firefighters. They're actually doing yeoman's work on a daily basis, you know, and you got to let the company officer make a decision pretty much all the time and justify his or her rationale for making that decision. And sometimes they're going to make mistakes, but you need to support them, and you need to talk about it. You need to train. You need to see how long you can flow your tank. It depends on your nozzle selection, obviously, and your supply hose, whether it's 4 or 5 inch, what your water supply is. Ours in the city is high volume, low pressure. So we get a lot of water at a very low pressure, about 30 PSI. So it just depends on your locale, and it's a tool for the toolbox. So, you know, just like everything else in the fire service, it's shared, and it should be shared. And we all learn from each other, from the brothers on the East Coast to the South, to the North, to the West, and the sisters that are working out there. So, hey, listen, we all have the same mentality. We want to get inside, protect the stairwell, stop the spread of fire, be able to use the interior stairwell to make rescues, ingress and egress. The methods don't change. This is just a method that's been around for a while that I don't think people have really known about, and there's really been nobody from the city discussing it too much. There's some guys teaching on it now, Bobby Hoff, Ray Orozco Jr., Richie Stack, and it's starting to get out there a little bit, you know, but for most of the time, you know, we were getting articles in fire engineering and firehouse from our West Coast brothers and our East Coast brothers and sisters. There's a lot of fire departments in the country. There's a lot of cool techniques out there, and it's starting to open up a little bit for everybody.
And I think it's easy to draw a box around, well, let's say for me, for example, a Midwest rural or metro area in the Midwest, we draw a box around how we do it. And then we look at a city like Kansas City, Chicago, somewhere outside of this region. So Chicago, for example, I guess, we draw a box around that. At the end of the day, this stuff applies, and it's up to, we just need to realize that and adopt it and truly help each other, because we're after the same thing more often than we're against a different enemy. It's the same enemy. The variables change a little bit, but like you're saying, this applies big and small, east and west, right?
Yeah, I think one of the benefits of working for the Illinois Fire Service Institute is we look to other departments across the country and the world, kind of see what their best practices are. And then we're backed up by a research staff, and we're backed up by curriculum people that actually give us the teeth to apply everything that we do, both in instruction and testing, to make sure that we're, you know, it's not our opinion. It's not the instructor's opinion so much as what's been borne out by the research and what the curriculum holds. So for us down at IFSI, it's a really great piece of the pie. And we're a nonprofit organization too. So there's not many training institutions left that are doing it, you know, for not-for-profit. We pay our guys, don't get me wrong, but, you know, they're in it for all the right reasons. Our guys and girls, they're there to hand down information and techniques that have been used for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, I think this is cool. You know, right now, actually, John's got up in front of everybody there. This is actually the kind of one of the public documents from Chicago Fire. And it's really, it's really interesting about, you know, their process, the procedures, and the steps to take. And I know you mentioned before when we started talking here, Tim, the UL website. I know John had it up here on the screen as well, and we'll have it linked in to the page here also. Yeah, there it is again. Thanks, John, for throwing that back up there. But really, I know that ulfirefightersafety.org site has an immense amount of information on this and many other topics. I think it's actually a great resource and underutilized in many ways. And so I know, thanks to UL, thanks to the folks at NIST for doing this technology. But I'd encourage all of you watching, if you haven't checked it out, go check it out. It's a great resource. But that being said, Tim, hey, let's say I want to know more above and beyond what I can find on this website here, or what I can read in the that the general order there from the Chicago Fire Department from 1993. Where are there some resources? And I know IFSI is doing a lot of stuff. What else? How else can I find more about it, or maybe even get some hands-on activity?
Well, obviously, you can talk to us at IFSI, and we teach all over the country. We're willing to bring this program out to anywhere. Richie Stack's kind of our lead guy on this. He taught last year on FDIC on this topic. He'll be teaching again next year at FDIC on this topic. And he's done some real yeoman's work as far as research and making sure we have the names right. We've actually reached out to some other training organizations. I talked to the guys over at Brothers in Battle a couple weeks ago because they had some different names than I had. So what we'd like to do is try to get this right over the next 6 to 8 weeks here. We're going to do some interviews with the guys from our job that are still alive. And we want to make sure that we have a pretty good handle on our local history that kind of moved into national firefighting history as the research projects were born out from UL and NIST. So that document, if you saw the top page of it, was written in 1993. That's when it went into effect. It's still in effect now in the Chicago Fire Department, and it's still the way we operate. We give the company officer some latitude to choose how he or she wants to go to work, how they want to address that firefight. We just want them to use the tank water. We'll get a water supply to you, whether it's a second engine or another hydrant person to get that water to you. But we want you to get inside, protect the occupants, get water on the fire, and make things better.
I think that's the ultimate goal, right? Make things better. Put it back in the box. I think that was your analogy earlier from your old chief. So
yeah,
a key piece in the puzzle. Well, I tell you what, we really appreciate you jumping on the jump seat here. And I know we've been really focusing on the quick water side of things, but I also think there's some cool things that you guys do at IFSI. And maybe some of our listeners aren't familiar as much with the organization, what you guys do. And I know there's some hands-on training coming up here in early October. So maybe tell us a little bit more about the organization that you work for now and some of the hands-on training that you guys offer and opportunities.
Yeah, so my job now is I go out and hit companies like IDEX for helping us in training and to support basically the volunteer firefighters that are across this country, which the majority of the fire service here in the States is volunteer. We do have paid professional organizations. Some are supported well, some are not. So we provide free training in our Cornerstone program, and we provide directed training in some cutting edge programs, including our RIT Under Fire program, where we actually deliver 18 fires, Class A fires in our burn buildings, where you're actually making rescues of a live down firefighter. You're not moving dummies. You're moving an instructor that will give you some feedback after you come out of that building. And we don't make it easy for you. We base those rescues on firefighter fatalities and NIOSH with help from our curriculum department. And we want the training to be real, right? So anybody can drop a couple of lines out in the parking lot and not wear their gear. But when you come down to us or we're on the road, the majority of the classes that we teach are on the road. We delivered in over 5,000 locations last year, touched 1,100 fire departments and 65,000 firefighters all across the country. Wow. You know, so we have a part-time staff, predominantly of about 500 field staff instructors. That's how I started for the Institute. And we have trailers. We go mobile all across the country to any state. We teach on the international level. We go to China. We go to a bunch of other places too. So we're the only ones that I know of. There could be some other organizations out there that I'm not familiar with. But that was one of the reasons I came here. We're kind of an all-in organization. We're backed by the State Fire Marshal's office here in Illinois and backed by IFSAC. All our classes are IFSAC transferable. So we deal a lot with the DOD and the Department of Defense. And we're all about training. So our motto is, helping firefighters do their work through training, education, research, and information. And everybody at the Institute is committed to that. The first weekend of October will be our fire college, the longest running fire college in the United States. We're providing free lodging with grant money for anybody that wants to come down and spend a few days with us. And we have over 50 different classes in every topic from basic firefighter, if you're the new recruit, or a cadet, all the way up to tech rescue and basic RIT and pumping operations, tech rescue, whatever you can do, whatever you can imagine. And it's all at a pretty fair price. You know, guys are getting big bangs for their buck all across the country with regional conferences. We're not looking to gouge anybody. We're looking to get information out and provide training that's real and raw and get you in burn buildings and fighting fire. We still do acquired structure training all across the country. Not many organizations do that. We have a great cache of acquired structure and trainers that go all across and light buildings on fire. I mean, that's the way you have to get experience, in my opinion, my humble opinion. You know, this is a dirty job requiring labor. It's always been a dirty job. And as far as I know, until they hire robots to do this, it will always be a dirty job. So the training has to reflect what you do on the street. And if it doesn't, then you need to find some new training.
And I'll say here, you guys just, you know, in the last few months, I've seen more and more of your live casts similar to this. Some out on training pads, fantastic instructors. I mean, I was very impressed with some of the videos. So they're probably still on the Facebook page, right, Tim, on the IFSI Facebook? There's some really good training.
You can go to our Facebook page. There's free training there. We've had about 300,000 hits on all that training just in the last few weeks. So we know there's an appetite for it out there. And we're trying to hit the high marks, some basic first two company considerations and all types of topics. And our instructor pool is pretty deep. So there's a lot of go-to people in our organization that we can say, hey, we need 45 minutes on this topic. The topic this week is RIT company operations, the ability to be able to move a down fireman in the building. We know that since COVID hit, RIT jobs are up about 30% according to Operation Mayday, which is a great website if you haven't been on there. And most RITs, most Maydays are handled by firefighters in the building. So if you've not practiced how to move a down fireman, and not everybody's skinny like me, joke, you know, so most firemen with their gear on are probably 300, 350 pounds. And that's somebody that's in really good shape too. Sometimes some big muscle bound guys. You have to have some techniques and some practice to be able to make those rescues. And if you haven't practiced that, the day of the Mayday is not the time that you want to jump on that. You want to have some real skills available to you so that you can take care of your brother or sister on the fire ground. Yeah, so we're pretty lucky. We try to get as much done as we can, and my job is to go out and find corporate partners that are willing to support that effort. We have about 100 corporate partners now, IDEX being one of them. And they do a great job helping us provide training and tools for firefighters all across the country.
Well, and I can tell you on behalf of all of us at IDEX, at Akron Brass, at Hale Products, we are glad to be partners with you. We're glad to have helped you. I know from my standpoint in Akron history, we've been doing it well over, I think, 12, 15 years. So we look forward to continue to support that. And for those of you guys who are watching, we do have the link up. So www.fsi.illinois.edu. And you can learn more about the fire college there that Tim mentioned here in October. And I know that's a great school. We've had a number of folks get to go out and participate in it, as well as just experience the live fire application at that event in the past. I tip my hat to all of you at IFSI and the work that you're doing. And I encourage you guys to continue to make the fire service a better place than we found it, right?
Yeah, that's the plan. You know, so the captain of Squad 1 that was at the Our Lady of Angels fire, Dick Scheid, his mantra was, you know, leave the job a little bit better for the next guy or girl. And there's still companies in the city and still fire departments all across that nation that believe that mantra. It was the motto of Squad Company 1 when I was the captain there. And that's the way it has to be. I mean, we're leaving this job to people that have a ever-changing combat environment. Things have changed, building construction, products inside the building. So we need to evolve. And we need to share lessons learned so that we can move forward. You know, Illinois Firefighter Association weekend is also the same weekend as Fire College. So we have a really great complement of first due guys that are 16, 17 years old, looking to fight for their local community, all the way up to professional firefighters that have been on the job for 25 years. I appreciate you guys having me on, and thanks to IDEX for supporting us. And if there are any other partners out there that are looking to jump on board with IFSI for the big win, our website's right there, and my contact information's on there. So we'd love to have you be part of what I think is to be one of the best training institutions in the country.
That's great. Tim, thank you so much again. And, our goal here collectively is to make this a better place than we found it, and to continue featuring folks just like yourself. There's many, many, many of them. And our goal in the Jump Seat is to continue that message across the viewers. And so thank you for coming in and helping spread that word today. And that's about all I've got here. Dave, I was going to let you turn it over and give us a little preview for next week.
Yeah,
Thanks.
absolutely. Thanks again, Tim. And, next week we got another great episode already lined up for our 16th episode. Holy cow, we've done this for 16 weeks now, coming up on
That's
16.
right. Yeah,
And we're actually going to change the game a little bit, John. We're going to
We
do
are.
a little transition. We've been talking a lot about firefighting, about water flow. We've gone to some fire truck manufacturers.
Yeah.
But, EMS is a key piece of what we do as firefighters and emergency responders. And so we're going to actually take a little transition. We're going to have a guest in here next week that I'm excited for. I guess I'm excited for most all of our guests because it is a lot of fun to put this together and talk and learn. But Steve Rowland has been in the EMS world for years. He spent time as a firefighter previously before that, but really focused on the EMS side of things. And so he's going to talk to us a little bit about trends that are occurring within the EMS side of things, as well as new technology that's going to be impacting ambulances or is already impacting ambulances. So hopefully you guys can come join us, spread the word for those interested in the EMS side of things for some of the latest, greatest trends and new technology in the ambulance world. So
it's one of those topics, we, in the fire side of things, we sometimes forgo or don't acknowledge, but at least in my personal experience, it's 80% of the job. So if we're going to make it better than we found it, it includes all the spokes to the wheel. So
absolutely. So I hope you all can join us next week. And for those of you guys who are joining us for the first time, you know what? Check us out in our previous episodes, actually on idexfiresafety.com. Go to the link for the Jump Seat. There's all our previous ones, as well as you can find them on Facebook and on YouTube. So once again, thank you all for joining us. I hope you have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week in the Jump Seat.
Take care.